Welcome everyone. Happy Thursday. I'm the Grace Strega and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread for today? First two cards we are starting our day off with today. Oh, we have here our Three of Cups in its reversal in combination with the High Priestess in its reversal. If this card looks familiar, it's because we literally ended our reading yesterday with the High Priestess in its reversal. A lot of work that we see right now. Navigating, working through energetic self-doubt. And this is like, if you're starting to feel a little bit of this heaviness right now, that's because, and we've been articulating this, there's a little bit of, the best way I can describe this right now is we've got a little bit of like energetic displacement that is occurring. And we were talking a little bit about this prior to beginning the daily collective read. So let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing and experiencing astrologically right now. So we're currently in the midst of Scorpio season, which is a lot of transformation energy, right? And then we've got with it the combination of the Taurus full moon that's coming through. And that is like, it's dense. It's like a wrecking ball. It's heavy, right? And so we've got, in the combination of that, we've also got this Mercury retrograde shadow period that we find ourselves in. So it's like in the midst of like all of this activation, in the midst of all of this like expediency and transformation, there is like this unavoidable energetic obstacle to a certain extent. It almost feels like, I want to describe it as like this Taurus full moon feels like the elephant in the room, right? It feels like the energetic elephant in the room because it feels like it's not in the right space. It's not in the right place. It feels like it's it's like in an uncomfortable space because it feels out of place. It feels almost energetically oppositional to the energy that's surrounding it. And so a lot of this work that we're seeing right now has to do with that feeling of energetic displacement to a certain extent. And it's difficult. It's difficult because on top of all of that, we have a lot of that recognition or a lot of that work happening right now in relationality to observation and pathwork of the past that is being perceived in the process of navigating a lot of this active change. So when I say that there's a lot happening right now, this is what I mean by a lot. I don't mean a lot as in there's a lot of things happening. I mean there's a lot of different energetic forces that are whipping up against each other right now, and they all feel like they're moving in different directions. But again, what is a lot of the work that we've been articulating upon that is occurring at this time? I keep getting that same message that we saw about 2 weeks ago, which is the combination of the Ace of Swords in its reversal with the combination of the Ace of Pentacles in its upright. When we navigate a lot of uncertainty, when we navigate a lot of energetic transformation, when we're moving with integrity of the self, that feeling of what is integral can guide us forward, right? And it doesn't move us off of our own direction. It doesn't take us off of our own energetic axis to a certain extent. But that feeling of navigating the energetic forces in the process, it sometimes can make you build into that context of questioning oneself. It can build into that context of really being energetically, I want to say, it's like that sense of care, right? A lot of that sense of care and a lot of that energy I see even now, it feels slow. It feels delicate. And a lot of that is working through to a certain extent and trying to I want to identify this, working on that feeling of recognizing and identifying how to energetically articulate and work through a lot of those internal processes in a way that you're bringing them forward. And I want to point this out because this is really important. You will remember that a few weeks ago, what did we see that a lot of the energy of masculine was doing in terms of moving towards connection with feminine? Coming into that space, learning to take an inside process and bring it outwards, right? A lot of that work of that inside process coming outwards to a certain extent. And that was difficult. That was heavy. We saw that even here. And for masculine, that ability of doing so, we now see that the feminine is going through a lot of that same energetic process, right? We even recognize that a lot of that sense of the feminine going inwards right now, there's a lot of that ability of trying to articulate and communicate how to move, like how to express what they're energetically feeling, how to articulate upon something. And even here, like a lot of this work that I'm seeing, it says to me that a lot of the feminine energy is having that sense of breakthrough right now. But that breakthrough that we're recognizing and identifying to a certain extent, it's interesting because that breakthrough is effectively or energetically in articulating one's own feeling of the displacement, of the difficulty or the energetic hurdle of what they feel dissatisfied or energetically frustrated with. And even here, like a lot of this work that we see, like, and I want to say this, like, and you'll remember that we spoke about how a lot of the masculine energy a few weeks ago was going through that process, like the Scorpio energy of trying to heal by taking an internal process and bringing it outward. It almost felt like gross. Like it almost felt energetically gross for some of the masculine. This is a lot of the feminine energy, almost feeling a lot of that similar feeling right now and finding ways to energetically articulate it. Like finding ways to articulate their own feeling of energetic dissatisfaction to a certain degree in ways and ways that feel clarifying, in ways that feel energetically affirming. And it's difficult, right? Because I can see a lot of the energy of the feminine trying to navigate and work through something delicately, right? This is why we saw so much of that energy being like, I'm going into my library, right? Now, for masculine and feminine energy, deep within divine union, a lot of this work that we're seeing at this time, this has a lot to do with the articulation and the expansion of what care feels like. And a lot of this that I'm seeing here is how the masculine energy is articulating to the feminine the beauty and significance of the feminine energy's own displeasure. There's something really important that's just happening here within that, right? Like that ability of masculine coming into that space or place of navigating forward. And I want to say this, holding feminine energetic displeasure preciously. Holding feminine energies displeasure preciously. This is how a lot of those energies within divine union are showing their energetic care and support for one another at this time. While for feminine, we see even now that energetic connection to masculine being such that ability of seeing the masculine that prioritizes, I want to say, not only, this is beautiful, not only the pleasure of feminine, but also the energetic displeasure. We see even here, this is the energy of the feminine that feels the full encompassing of the love of the masculine. Because this is almost the masculine and feminine energy within divine union saying to one another, I don't just adore you when you move in the directionality of what I choose. I adore you because I value and I recognize the power of your energetic choice, right? And this is beautiful. I see even now that there's something about that sake or that space of honoring, like honoring within that feels, I want to say, it feels precious, right? It feels It feels prioritizing. It feels amplifying to a certain degree. Because even here, there's something about facilitating forward in that way that allows for that state or space of energetic security and stability, right? Because these are the energies that work towards identifying and recognizing as such. And it's heavy work. I see it even now. I see a lot of deep conversation that is occurring in those spaces and places. Because again, a lot of this work that's happening right now has to do and has to be in the modality of navigating nuance. While for masculine and feminine right now coming into divine union, so much of this work that I'm seeing at this time is built upon and based upon that sense or that space of recognizing and identifying both the changes that are integral, that are allowing for the healing of energetic connections as they move deeper into divine union. But a lot of that work is difficult because a lot of that energy, if these are energies that are healing as they're coming towards one another in energetic connection, the identification of what was creating the hurdles of the past, this feels like an act of energetic self-correction. And that work is perpetual, right? And so even here, I see a lot of that energy moving deeper into divine union, navigating nuance, navigating delicacy. And that, and I need to point this out, the appreciation of being able to move into a space of being able to work on nuance and delicacy. We see that this is more of that articulation of the energy that is learning how to refine their energetic connection. And that sense of refinement isn't one that feels like it's overly critical, right? It feels like it's introspective. It feels, and this is what's beautiful. Like when we heal the wounds of intimacy, it allows us to become very introspective to the point that we can be nuanced, right? Because that ability of being nuanced, it's like the more you go into a nuanced space, the more that you're deeply interrogating and investigating the self to a certain extent, right? Like that's what we mean with attunement. When you're building into that space and you can tune finely the self, it allows that ability to communicate and articulate to the energetic connection. So I keep seeing that there's a lot of energy right now that is coming into divine union that is fine-tuning their energetic connection. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within, like in separation, so much of this energy right now, in separation, if you will, I'm just recognizing and identifying that there's a lot of articulation, and this might be creating a little bit of gravitas for energy and separation. It could be creating a lot of gravitas in relationality to like energetic displeasure. I see even now there's energy right now that's coming into alignment in separation via the modality of articulating upon displeasure. So it does feel a little bit like griping energy, if you will. Like, you know, like it's giving me that sense of like sharing the joy of an energetic gripe, you know, continuing to get clarification. But there, and I have to say, there's something about that even here. It feels like a release. It feels like a breath of fresh air, because again, one way you can recognize alignment is when you share a mutual distaste or displeasure for something. So we've got a lot of that, like a lot of that energy to a certain extent. Yeah, like a lot of that, like you know, and that's what we talked about, like, you know, that energy being like smiling and almost being like, I hate this. Do you hate this? Being like, I hate this too. Like, center card for our 5-card spread for today is but I have to stress, this is all right. This is feeling it's feeling like a release valve. It really is. It's feeling, you know, again, better out than in. Like better out than in. We get this a lot. We get this a lot during Scorpio season, and that's, that's it. It's it's a Taurus with the Scorpio energy in combination. It feels a lot like that sense or that space of energetically spilling tea to a certain extent, right? And a lot of it feels, I gotta say, the energy feels gripey. It feels like a lot of that, like energetic gripiness to a certain extent. But there's something that can be energetic. I need to point this out. There's something that can be healing in the act of griping, right? So, because a lot of that energy and separation, I told you, that ability of being able to be one's own sense of authentic sense of self, if you will. A lot of that work that I see even there, this creates that space or that place of authenticity to a certain extent. Now, for masculine and feminine energy, this is having a different impact. Because for the feminine, we'll see again that, especially and particularly with this high priestess energy in the reversal, what is of the energy of the feminine doing right now in separation? They're healing from spaces and places wherein they did not feel energetically appreciated. They're healing from spaces and places wherein they did not feel energetically appreciated, right? And in that space, right, when you're in a space where you're being appreciated, you can articulate upon those spaces that you did not feel that you were appreciated. Right? So we see even now that there's something about that ability of the feminine to be in separation and to articulate their own energetic displeasure that feels safe. It feels reaffirming, because this is the energy of the feminine, again, working through that sense or space of saying, I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I'm an energetic specialty. Right? While for masculine, I can see a lot of the masculine almost articulating and saying to feminine in separation, yes, and I really like that tea. I really like this tea. Right? So we see even now that there's a lot of energy that may be coming into that space of restoration and separation with more of that sense of appreciation that we were speaking towards. That when you are precious, but you're not in places that prioritize the same things as you, then your preciousness will seem paltry. Your preciousness will feel like that's the thing that was rejecting you. It's a lot of that, like, energetic ugly duckling effect to a certain degree that we're seeing here. So even here, that ability of perceiving those spaces and places wherein feminine did not energetically feel appreciated, this feels cleansing, because it feels reaffirming. While for masculine, that same space, seeing the feminine coming into that modality of questioning the self and then articulating. I see almost a lot of masculine in separation almost articulating this to feminine. Saying, it doesn't sound to me like you're not someone that is worthy of energetic appreciation. It sounds to me like you're healing from a space or place wherein you are underappreciated. So there's something very restorative that is occurring right now within separation. And I told you, it's gripey. It's gripey, but it's also healing. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, I just see it even now. There's some energy coming into divine union, and the ability to start sweating over small things together is actually the symbol of how far they've come in healing and energetic connection. Because if this is the energy wherein a few weeks ago there was really that moment or that modality of uncertainty as to whether an energetic connection could sustain, and now they're moving into that, like, sense of preciousness, of being almost like of fine tuning. This is the energy that's almost building into that sense of the appreciation of being able to gripe about something because it shows the articulation of how far that they have come, right? Like, this is giving me this is really giving me some kind of energy here of recognizing and appreciating. Like, they're saying, like, the gift of comfortability that occurs in being able to gripe with someone. Because when you're able to gripe with someone, it means that, again, you're not putting up that, like, false sense of self to a certain extent, right? Like this is the energy that's almost finding that comfortability point via a deeper level of intimacy where they're not necessarily being as polite with one another. While for masculine and feminine energy, deep within divine union, this is just heavy. I want to say this is just heavy. This is like nuanced conversations with a lot of heaviness in it. And there's a lot of, I want to say, a lot of work that I see that feels very healing. And a lot of those conversations that I see that are occurring right now have to do with the energy of, I want to say, protectiveness, like the protectiveness of the masculine as it relates to the prioritization of feminine, and also the feminine's own modality of how they've been carrying something. Because we see even now that for so much of this energy, that ability of feeling valued, that ability of feeling energetically seen, this is a lot of that energy that's working through how to carry something forward. And it feels like there's a deeper level of healing that's occurring deep within divine union right now. But it's difficult. It's difficult because it's trying to heal a wound that's actively forming. Next two cards in our 5-card spread, before we start getting clarification on these cards, we have here our 9 of Pentacles in combination with our 7 of Pentacles in its reversal. And so a lot of it, I want to say even now, there's so much of this work that I'm identifying that is occurring right now that has to do with preference. It has to do with comfort. It has to do with prioritization to a certain extent. Because even here, I want to say a lot of this work that is occurring, like I said, there's something that's happening here in relationality to, and like I keep getting a message that's coming through of navigating a wound that is actively occurring. Like there's something here. It's like it's literally trying to navigate through a circumstance or situation in such a way that it requires that sense of, I want to say, delicacy, as it were. And so we see even now that for so much of that energy, facilitating upon that work, like that amplification. And this has to do, it is having a different impact on masculine and feminine. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. For a lot of the masculine energy right now, I just recognize and identify that this is a lot of the masculine energy. Bearing in mind, again, this isn't based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, that this work that's happening here, it's fundamental because it feels like this is the masculine trying to carry the energetic wound of the feminine. Like I just keep seeing even here that there's something that is so important and so valuable, because this is the masculine that is being energetically protective of the feminine to such an extent that the amplification of the energetic sensitivity that's emerging here is such that is the masculine energy that is holding the feminine energy's own sensitivity so preciously, right? While for feminine energy, that ability of recognizing and identifying that masculine energy that prioritizes one's own energetic sensitivity in such a way, I see even now there's a lot of that conversation. There's a lot of that work that is occurring as it relates to the identification point of nuance. Now for masculine and I see even now, like there's a lot of that energy here of feminine expressing and articulating one's own doubt of self, right? But I see even now that a lot of that work in doing so, the feminine almost coming to masculine, articulating their doubts and their fears, masculine almost joining them in that conversation. This is what I meant about the beauty of the scorpionic journey being such that the poison, like releasing of the energetic poison, often creates the antidote, because these aren't the energies that just hold on to something and allow it to kind of fester within. This is the energy that expresses without, and in the moment that they're able to express out without, they allow the opportunity of healing to occur. So I see even now, like a lot of those difficult conversations that feel very energetically restorative. While for a lot of the energy right now coming into divine union, that ability to reach a level of comfortability wherein you're actively griping with someone, you're putting away some kind of false sense of self. These are the energies here that are almost getting playful. Like I want to say they're getting playful in argumentation, because when you start to heal an energetic connection, then you can come into that space of playfully arguing, because it's the amplification of the articulation that you've profoundly healed some point of trauma to such a degree that you're almost being able to be in that space that like the energetic difficulty is getting lightened. So I see even now, I want to say the griping, they're saying it's griping, but it's positive. It shows that things are moving in a positive way, because these are the energies that are finding ways of not having to feel that sense of propriety towards one another, because they're getting more energetically comfortable. And for a lot of the energy in separation right now, I see even now the ability of being one's own authentic sense of self and finding some profound alignment there. This is why the energy right now is healing in such a profound way in separation, because this is the energy that's not putting up some kind of false sense of self as they establish a connection. I just get the same resounding message that's happening for both masculine and feminine, which is, again, if there's something about communicating my authenticity that moves you away, then that is also the healing. I see the energy going, that is also my healing, because that is the energy that feels that sense of saying, I'm looking and seeking alignment. And that alignment is one that I'm not going to create a false sense of self in the process. Continuing to get clarification between our Four of Cups in its reversal in combination with our High Priestess in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now. We love to see this. We've got here our Two of Cups in its upright. So masculine and feminine energy right now, deep with, like, in separation. This is more of that validation that we were just speaking about. I feel like this is energy right now in separation that's saying, like, throat chakra, take me away. I feel throat chakra, take the wheel, take the wheel. I'm not even going to hold it. I'm just going to speak my mind. Like a lot of the energy going, I'm just going to open my mouth. And if it's something energy comes out, if something energetically comes out that moves someone away from me, au revoir. Goodbye. I have to go. And so we see even now, a lot of that energy here, it is a little bit different, right? It is a little bit different, because I do see even here that a lot of that energy, and this is what's really beautiful about this. I see that there's some kind of conversation that's emerging around the healed energies and separation, with where, again, if the energy of the feminine is coming in that space of articulating gripe, and I see even the masculine being like, do you mean that towards me? Like this is the energy of the masculine being like, I know I'm not taking that personally, because I know it's not towards me. You know, I recognize and identify, like I see the energy being in that space of being like, I energetically get it. And a lot of that work I can see even now. Like it's interesting, because it's adding, I want to say it's interesting because they're actually saying to me, it's adding a level of profound irony to some conversations. They're saying it's adding some kind of level of profound irony. And there's something about the energetic irony within it that is fortifying. They're actually saying to me that there's something that's profoundly fortifying within it. There's something energetically healing in that. Because it has to do with delicacy. It has to do with nuance. It has to do with they're saying the nuance that can only be received via the deep energetic alignment, right? Like when you're on someone's wavelength, sometimes you don't feel like you necessarily need to explain something, because you just feel like you're both there to a certain degree. So I see even there's something really important that's happening as it relates to energetic connections and separation right now, because they're saying that something about it does, like, almost doesn't bar explanation. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, this is hard work. This has not been easy. This has been hard work. This is hard fought territory. So they're saying to me that this is a lot of the energy coming into divine union that's appreciating how far they've come. And I can see even now, like, that's a little, this is the energy coming into divine union that appreciates how far they've come and can make fun of themselves along the way. Because a lot of that energy that I see even now, that sense of being self-referential, that sense of being able to observe the changes within the self. I see that this is almost the energy that's speaking towards past versions of self, almost with a sense of energetic irony to a certain extent. Because that is the energy that's almost saying to one another in the process, like, I see that you've energetically forgiven me, and I've forgiven myself in the process of doing that. Like, there's something very restorative that's happening in that space. While for masculine and feminine energy that is deep within divine union, so much of this work that I see is happening here has to do with the energy deep within divine union re-amplifying and re-fortifying their own energetic commitment towards partnership. And what's interesting about this, even here, is a lot of that energy, operating in such a way that you have to recall, a lot of the energy deep within divine union has not been putting a lot of energy towards the union itself right now, specifically and particularly because this is energy that's been working very tirelessly. So I see even now that a lot of that energy, or feeling that ability to reconnect right now, like, that is like it feels very intimate, but it also feels very nuanced. Continuing to get clarification between our High Priestess in its reversal in combination with our Five of Pentacles in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Knight of Swords and in its reversal. Now, I need to stress this because this is really important. A lot of this work that we're seeing right now for the energy in deep within divine union is the amplification and the articulation of fear. We're going to have this coming up right now. We're going to have to navigate. We're going to have to talk about fear, because especially with the combination of, like, the Taurus energy and the Scorpio energy, that can create a lot of that, like, da-da-da-dun, like, it can create a lot of that da-da-da-dun, like, a lot of that, like a lot of that heaviness, right? A lot of that like that deeper work, right? Like, a lot of that deeper work that comes up. But again, what is the beauty? And this is why there's a little bit of disparity here between, like, the Taurus full moon and the Scorpio energy. Because the Taurus energy wants to just kind of be like, what fear? Right? Like, the Taurus energy is just like it's a lot of that, like, energy of just, like, not facing, like, it's like working through and just being very energetically, like, resistant, right? Like, that's a lot of that path work that feels very much like the power of, like, the self, right? Scorpio wants to bring it out, right? Like, and so there's almost like an argument that we see that's happening here between, like, the Taurus energy that says, like, no, we don't, like, just keep, like, ignore, like, just ignore, like, like, just, what are you, like, I'm just, like, going to energetically ignore, versus energy that says, no, let's bring it out. Let's put it all on the table. Let's look at everything. So we have even here, they're like, this is what we're talking about that's happening right now. It's like you're taking these two energies and going, now kiss. Like, you're trying to get those two energies in terms of navigating that. It's like they're very energetically resistant. So a lot of that, like that's what I meant with a little bit of that, like, elephant in the room energy, because it's the conversation between, like, or we could just ignore it, versus the energy being like, no, we don't ignore anything. We look at everything. So it's a lot of that work here. And this could even be articulating in the disparity, in relationality to approaches, in navigating one's own anxieties. This could even be happening right now for a lot of the energy deep within divine union. That ability of recognizing and identifying and taking one's own directionality as it relates to navigating through the space and place of like one's own anxieties right now. Like they're saying to me like there's an active energetic conversation there between masculine and feminine, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Because this is the energy that moves in very oppositional way. Like the perspective and the directionality of how the energy moves sees the energetic modality of another, and it requires conversation. It requires energetic explanation. So we see even now that energy deep within divine union, what are they doing? They're moving through and they're getting each other's perspective on things, right? They're doing that work, right? While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, this is the energy that is recognizing and identifying the changes of the self. And it's becoming self-referential. But I have to say, if this is the energy that can appreciate and see how far they have come, it's bittersweet right now because this is the energy that says, I recognize how far I've come. I still have a long way to go. Right? This isn't the energy that says I'm done by any extent. This is the energy that feels like they're like halfway through to a certain extent because I don't know why the energy is saying I'm half baked. I'm half done. I'm doing that work actively, making those energetic changes. And this is the energy that I see coming into partnership that says to one another, I'm not perfect. And the energy says it doesn't require you to be perfect. None of us are perfect. But that ability of identifying and recognizing what it is that you're trying to change, that is the energy that says that like, as long as we do that work, there's nothing that can energetically, like it's not about if something can heal. It's just it's a question of when. It's a question of how, right? While for a lot of this energy I'm seeing in separation right now, this is articulating to me a lot of that energy in separation right now. I just keep seeing there's something valuable and important that's occurring there. Because this is the energy that I feel that there's something about the authenticity that they're able to bring to two new energetic connections. It feels like a sigh of relief. Especially and particularly if these were energetic connections where something about being their authentic self was creating rifts in some kind of connection. Right? I almost see some energy going through some massive healing and separation because I just keep getting the same message. Someone being like, someone said that was bad. That sounds like the best part of you. Someone said that was a negative. That sounds like the highest ideal. And that's where alignment happens. Like we recognize alignment where one person's trash is another person's treasure, right? If you put something in the wrong place, it loses its energetic value. Sometimes we come into that pathwork of alignment by suddenly recognizing and identifying that space of holding it preciously. But that's why this is heavy healing, because some healing hurts. So if these are connections that are healing from rifts of past connection because someone's saying, why didn't someone think that was precious? Like that's that modality of perspective that occurs that allows for some vast healing to happen. It's difficult, right? Because it's a recognition of what is within the self to change versus what was outside of the self to accept. Continuing to get clarification between Five of Pentacles in its reversal, in combination with our Nine of Pentacles in its upright. One card to clarify, please. See here. Clarification coming through right now with the Ace of Pentacles. I'm not surprised to see like this is the full moon coming. Boom. Like I told you, this is that full moon, that heavy full moon. It's a lot. It's like in the middle of all of this, bonk. Like it just drops down like a weight, like a piano, bump. So a lot of this work that we're seeing here it feels like like added gravity to a certain extent. There's like a tangibility here that's occurring, that, and I want to say, I think it's energetically important because it says to me, and this is heavy pentacle, and I'm not surprised to see all this pentacle energy here, with all of, like, with the heavy earth sign energy of this moon coming through, because it has to do with navigating what feels energetically restorative, right? And I see even now that a lot of that work, and that's where I see a lot of this work between, like, the Scorpio energy and the Taurus energy, finding, okay, so this is important. Where can those two energies merge? Where can those energies merge? The sense of the Scorpio energy that wants to, like, unpack everything, like wants to dump everything on the table, versus the Taurus that wants to stay very singly focused on, like, a directionality. What feels practical? What feels productive? So a lot of that feels like that sense or that space of identifying how to transfer something into something that feels energetically productive. And even there, I see that there's something that feels deeply energetically restorative in that way. Now, for masculine and feminine, deep within divine union, in separation, this is what I meant about that space of feeling alignment that's potentially occurring right now. Because if this is energy that feels that sense that they had to move away from something because they felt like they couldn't be their authentic sense of self within it, that sense of energetic displacement, that ability of looking at something from the past and saying something was always off, it never felt energetically right. Like that ability of, like, not, we've talked about this, like not trying to jam like the square peg into the round hole, right? But that modality of feeling something that fits. I'm seeing here, like, there's a little bit of this, like, energy here of some energy and separation moving into some modalities that something feels like it fits better. But it's hard because in that modality of feeling the sense of something that fits, it helps you understand everything that didn't fit. It gives you clarity on what that energetic discomfort was, right? Sometimes we have to navigate those spaces where it's like when you don't know what it feels like for something to energetically fit, it can always feel like you're the one that doesn't fit, right? Like if you're going through over and over again and everywhere you go, it feels like you don't fit, it's easy to say to yourself, I must be the energetic issue. But when we finally come into that space, when we come into alignment and suddenly we have that dovetail of comfortability, that feeling of something energetically fitting, I see even now there's a lot of energy in separation that's finding that for themselves in separation, and in the process of coming into a space of not feeling that energetic displacement, moving into that sense of prioritizing what energetically fits for the self, you immediately create the environment where another can energetically find you, because you become that beacon. You become your own beacon. You're not trying to fit in someone else's space. You're becoming your own. And in that moment of becoming integral to yourself, you are able to be found by the energetic counterpart that is doing the same. So we see even now a lot of that energy taking energetic ownership of themselves and finding that sense of energetic restoration to a certain extent. And in that modality of taking energetic ownership of the self, you allow for that ability of alignment in the process. Now, for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, a lot of this work that we're seeing right now is built upon and based upon recognizing and identifying how far you have energetically come. We even saw a lot of this energy reaching some kind of rift point even during the eclipse cycle. Going through that modality, doing that work, recognizing and identifying This is a lot of the energy that is having that point of appreciation to one another. Because in the midst of all of this energetic chaos that's happening around them, the ability to create something, this is the energy that is feeling the pride in their work and saying, even if we don't have any energetic control over anything outside of us, we can fix this. We were doing it. We've actively fixed it. Like, not completely, right? Because nothing is ever completely fixed. But this is the energy going, we can, this is the energetic grounding force in our own, like, this is the energy that's valuing and prioritizing and not only feeling the ability to energetically fix a partnership, but recognizing how integral that energetic connection has become in the midst of all of the transformation, like energy of Scorpio that's occurring around them. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is deep within divine union, this is the energy that feels like a deep reaffirmation of commitment towards one another in the process. Because this is the energy that almost looks towards the counterpart and says, I see that the integrity that you bring toward, like that sense of navigating from a place of energetic, of prioritization. This is the gift that the counterparts give one another. This is the gift, like that energetic relief. Like, this is the thing that we spoke about, that they generate from thin air for the sake of the energetic counterpart. And that doesn't mean that this is energy that is moving or operating in a space that what they're creating, like, this is the energy that finds those hidden reserves within the self for the sake of the energetic counterpart. And there's that modality that I see even now, that the energy says, it's not that I have to change to move towards you. It's that you bring out my highest ideal of self. That in the modality of moving towards you, I find myself along the way. And so we see even now there's something so important and impactful about that, because this is the energy that speaks towards that valuation point to such a degree that it's that amplification of articulation of energetic support come what may. Continuing to get clarification between our Nine of Pentacles in its upright in combination with our Seven of Pentacles in its reversal. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with, I like this. I like this energy right now. It's hard. It's hard to start. It feels like it's restorative because we've got here our Ace of Cups in combination with our Ace of Pentacles. Okay? So, this is giving me a little like, help is on the way. Masculine and feminine energy, deep within divine union. This is the energy that is articulating and basically speaking towards one another and amplifying the energetic equivalent of recognizing and identifying what feels energetically sustainable, what feels energetically restorative, what feels energetically impactful. And a lot of that energy, I want to say the prioritization point of the counterparts, I want to say this is the energy deep within divine union that is almost saying to one another that it's not just about what they create tangibly, but that modality of feeling the energetic easement as they do so. I see even now like a lot of that energy communicating forward in such a way that it feels like the energy that is amplifying that in the like this is more of that articulation of saying that the thing that I create for you nourishes me in the process, right? Like this is that conversation that we just spoke about, that sense of saying that the things that we bring, that I'm seeing even now the energy saying to in connection, I find the things that I have to create for you, they nourish me in the process, right? Like that ability of pulling something out from within the self that you did not even know was there. that helps you recognize and identify like a new way of energetic being, right? Like this is the energy that feels that sense of restoration, because that's the energy that says to one another that it's not just even that sense of doing it for the self, but it's like the energetic battery that is created via the counterpart that says, I can find things for you within myself that I didn't even know were there, because that is the power of energetic love. And it doesn't feel forced, because you cannot force that spring. But that is the energy that feels that insight, that inspiration, that allows for that overflow to a certain extent. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, this is the same exact conversation that is occurring, because I see a lot of this energy that, again, navigating those changes, getting out of their own way. It's not easy work. I can see the energy going, it hasn't been easy, but you can't, like the energy saying, I can't argue the results. I can see the difference. I can recognize the energetic change. It's present. It's there. And so we see even now, for a lot of that energy, being able to navigate and do that work. That is the amplification to a certain extent of the energy that I want to say, this is the energy that's almost saying to one another as they come into divine union, I'm sorry we didn't do this sooner. I can see the energy being like, I'm sorry we didn't do this sooner. To which I'll say, remember, you're never late for your own journey. You're always on time. Continuing to get clarification between our Two of Cups in combination with our Knight of Swords in its reversal. Can I get one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now with our Three of Hearts, our Three of Swords in its upright. For masculine and feminine energy in separation, this is bittersweet. Because I see even now a lot of this energy in separation, getting affirmation of feeling the comfortability of where they are. But if this is energy that feels like they had to move or separate from someone in the process of doing so, that's why this is bittersweet. Because again, for energy that's healing, it's easier to move away from something and find something within the self. It's so much easier to find something within the self that you could change, because it's within one's own power to. So I see that a lot of this energy right now in separation is coming through and navigating the circumstances or situations of recognizing the healing that says such about being able to recognize what is within one's own power to change. Within the self. Always forget that part when you say that. Remembering the power of what is within the power to change within the self versus what is outside of one's own ability to navigate or control, right? So we see even now a lot of deep healing that is occurring there. Continuing to get clarification between our Knight of Swords. For masculine and feminine coming into divine union, a lot of this work that I see has to do with the energy that's almost apologetic of the old version of self. But again, this is the energy that says if you are apologetic, it's because you've already changed. That ability of taking accountability, it sometimes creates sorrow, but that sorrow is a gift, because it is the amplification of the fact that you are no longer the person who would have made those energetic choices in the first place. While for masculine and feminine energy, these are the energies that are carrying each other's wounds together. It's not that it's easy, but when you love someone, even the most difficult thing feels like it is easy, because this is the energy that says, you are not an energetic burden. You are a gift. And anything that comes with that is also an energetic gift. Continuing to get clarification between our Knight of Swords and its reversal in combination with our Ace of Pentacles and its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our King of Pentacles in its reversal. I told you, the energetic sharing of anxiety. The energetic sharing of fear. A lot of this energy of Scorpio season, better out than in. When we don't suppress, when we articulate, we allow for that sake of the antidote to emerge. So I see even now a lot of that openness of energetic expression, a lot of that ability to articulate upon things. We see even now it's allowing for a lot of energetic healing, but it's hard. Now for masculine and feminine energy deep within divine union, a lot of this has to do, and I keep seeing the energy saying this to one another, the intrinsic value for feminine, like these are how these energies are healing from their fears. Do you see this? What are these energies saying within divine union? Feminine, doubting themselves. Masculine, saying to feminine, you are energetically trustworthy because you are perpetually doubting yourself, right? That is the articulation, the questioning of the self, right? Not just blindly moving through something, but that constant reassessment, that constant introspection. This is the masculine that says, you can't see that is why you are that energetic source of truth. You are the one who I move towards as a counterpart, because you're not just someone who moves in that directionality blindly. You're constantly in that space of energetic introspection. That's a masculine saying, you cannot see the gift that you carry because you carry it so closely. And this is the masculine that worries that they're not doing enough, that there's more that they could be doing to create a sense of stability for those around them. This is like a lot of that energy we spoke about with the never-ending story with the rock man before we started the reading. The fear of the rock man saying, my hands are not energetically strong enough. And this is the feminine saying to masculine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Your intrinsic value is not in what you create outside the self. The stability that you create is within. A lot of this work, again, happening for the energy coming into divine union. This is the energy that's almost tuning into that conversation, because this is the energy that's going into self-assessment as they're healing an energetic connection. And if that's the energy that apologizes to one another, this is the energy saying you're apologizing for something you're actively fixing. How are you apologizing for? You're putting a qualifier on something that you're trying to do, which means you're already actively doing it. And that's the energy says, thank you for apologizing, but it's not necessary because you're not in the space of saying, wait for me. You're saying, be patient with me. Well, for a lot of this energy right now in separation, I see a lot of new energetic connections that are potentially forming in less than desirable circumstances. And there's a lot of irony I'm seeing that's occurring right now in some of these energetic connections. But there's something about that irony that is like the energy going like, oh, there you are. Because it's alignment, because the energy is feeling like they don't necessarily have to explain something to one another. Like there's a little bit of this energy being like, oh, there you are kind of thing, because it feels like something that just kind of fits, like there's a lot of like comfortability that's kind of arriving here. Continuing to get clarification between our Ace of Pentacles in combination with our Ace of Cups. One card to clarify. Four of Swords. This is like, don't expect any like big thing. Like this is sweater weather. This is some of that Taurus full moon. Everybody's getting cozy, comfy right now. Everyone's like again, depending on how you carry it, it's either cozy, comfy, or hunkering down. It's either cozy, comfy, or hunkering down. For a lot of this energy and separation, and I want to say this is some of the energy that's coming into connection from a place of deep exhaustion. But you know what happens when you're deeply exhausted? You stop putting up pretense. You get out of one's way. You get out of your own way. There's a lot of this energy I see in separation that's going, I'm tired. But then that moment of referencing the higher self is going, what are you tired of doing? And this is the energy going, I'm tired of trying to be someone I'm not. I'm tired of putting on some kind of charade. I'm tired of having to navigate. And then, so I see a lot of the energy. I almost see a lot of the higher self saying to energy and separation, so why don't you just take that off? If it's not comfortable, why don't you just take it off? And so I see even now like a lot of that energy in separation coming into their higher self, because the energy is going, this false version of self, I can't do it anymore. Like it's going like that. It's going, I can't do it. And I see a lot of that energy coming into connection with someone, because this is the energy that's like not, I see the energy like not going like, I'm not even trying. And when you stop trying, you start being. Right? Like this is energy. I see someone like rolling out of bed, being energetically lazy, meeting that person and being like, I'm not, this is what you get today. And someone being like, you seem fantastic. Right? that authenticity that sometimes emerges via the energetic exhaustion. Well, for a lot of this energy coming into divine union, I just see the energy in divine unions articulating in energetic connection and saying, the peace that I find with you is, there's no words for it. The peace that I feel with you is the rarest of substances. It is the energetic harmony. And so we see even now a lot of that energy either moving into divine union, saying, feeling the appreciation of the work that they're doing, prioritizing their energetic peace that they're creating with the counterpart, or this is the energy deep within divine union that is speaking deeply about the investiture of the energetic connection, and it's being amplified by articulating and saying, you are my peace. Continuing to get clarification between our Three of Wands in its swords in its upright in combination with our King of Pentacles in its reversal. One card to clarify, two cards coming out today. Four of Wands in its upright in combination with our Five of Cups in its reversal. So I see even now a lot of this work for the energy deep within divine union. It feels restorative. It feels reaffirming, because what happens, right? What happens when we articulate upon our anxieties? What happens when we articulate upon our doubts? We don't let them fester. We don't let them exist within. We bring them forth. We shine light on them. We allow them the ability to heal. So I see even now there's something about that articulation or amplification of the expression of the doubts and fears that feels energetically restorative. Because this isn't the energy that works in that pathwork of assumption. This is the energy that moves forward towards one another with a sense of, again, identifying and recognizing that sense of relief and release that they provide to one another via the amplification of the prioritization of each other's perspectives. And that ability of identifying and recognizing the energetic perspective, it feels like a lot of that energy that says to one another deep within divine union, where you go, I go. Not just tangibly, but spiritually, metaphorically. Because this is the energy that says that ability of doing so, it doesn't articulate upon the sense of going somewhere. It articulates upon the feeling of energetically already being there. Right? And that's a lot of that energy that almost says, again, that determination point is the amplification of the gift of the counterpart. Now, for masculine and feminine coming into divine union, that energy almost apologizing to one another along the way. This is why the energy is almost saying to each other as they're apologizing, no apologies necessary. Because this is the energy that in the act of energetically apologizing, that ability of articulating upon what they are trying to change. This is the energy that's saying, you're not trying. You're actively doing it. The word trying is the articulation point of trying to say that you're not satisfied with how well you are energetically doing something. So I see even now a lot of that energy continuing forward, working towards the refinement of the energetic connection. But that refinement is perpetual. Well, for a lot of this energy coming in separation right now, I just see even now there's a lot of this energy trying to get their mind off of things. And that's why I keep seeing that there's so much of this heavy irony that's in the air right now in some of these new connections that are forming. Because I told you, it's like a lot of the energy moving towards something, and this full moon in Taurus feels like the energy that's like trying to move in that space and trying to ignore the energetic elephant in the room, right? And so when you're trying to energetically ignore the elephant in the room, it creates a sense of energetic irony, right? Because there's this is the energy that's trying to create peace for one another in the process, while also navigating and wrestling with something that feels very heavy. Continuing to get clarification between our King of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Four of Swords in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Knight of Pentacles in its reversal. A lot of pentacle energy here. And it's a lot of back and forth. You can even see this even now. Now, one of the things that we see right now, and this could be a little bit more difficult for masculine energy right now, and bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Because I see even now that for a lot of the masculine energy, even navigating, like this is saying to me, like there's a lot of this like energetic disorder that's happening right now around a lot of masculine energy. And a lot of it has to do with, I want to say, like finding a feeling of energetic stability. And I can recognize that this is why this is so difficult for the energy of the masculine that's in that place of healing. Because for a lot of the masculine energy in that modality of healing right now, that point of recognition, that identification of what feels like it's energetically stabilizing. I told you, there's like the one thing I would be conscientious of, and this is what we have to be like, this is also like, this is because the Mercury retrograde shadow is here. That sense of nuance. Like I see even now that there's something about navigating nuance that like even like this is masculine energy that's trying to work towards facilitating forward in such a way that it feels like it's not just the masculine articulating forth to feminine, but it almost feels like masculine that feels very, like, I want to say prickly for the sake of energetic feminine energy. You know what I mean? Like this is the masculine energy in separation that's almost so fine-tuned to feminine energy that they're feeling that same sense of, like, I want to say prickliness in relationality to feeling like the gift that they can give feminine is not being energetically prescriptive to feminine as it relates to how they carry something, but being energetically protective around the feminine energy, like almost articulating like that sense, like, I mean, again, like almost creating that space of trying to amplify the healing towards other masculine. Like this is a lot of the masculine energy I see channeling some of that healing into the spaces and places where they feel like it is best served. And for feminine energy, I see that even here, like a lot of the feminine energy, a little bit of that energetic withdrawal here. Like this is why it's so difficult for feminine, because I keep seeing that this is the feminine that wants to be their authentic sense of self to masculine, but they're feeling a lot of that trepidatiousness in doing so, right? And it all has to do with the feeling of the energetic security of the feminine. While for masculine and feminine that are coming into divine union, a lot of this energy is coming through in such a way of the amplification and the articulation of the security and stability that they're creating between one another. It feels like it's reached an even higher degree of sacredness to a certain extent. Why does this energy feel like suddenly what they're trying to create between themselves feels even more sacred? Because that ability of creating stability in a circumstance where everything else feels less energetically stable, it feels like the energy that recognizes the value and the prioritization point in the process that feels like it's even more highly elevated. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is deep within divine union, all of this feels like the amplification point in relationality to identifying and recognizing the power of the energetic connection. And I see even now that for a lot of that energy moving within divine union, that ability of building into that sense of, like, again, continually, I want to say energetically course correcting. This is the energy that finds joy in that attunement. Because that ability of coming into that space of energetic attunement is one that, like, even as they navigate it, like working through, they're saying like working through those disparities, it doesn't feel off. It feels like a lot of that energy that is perfecting the energetic connection. And so when you're in that space and you're able to articulate, it doesn't feel oppositional. It feels like refinement. Final card for today's spread between our 5 of Cups in its reversal, our 4 of Wands in its upright, and our Knight of Pentacles in its reversal. Can I have one card to clarify, please? Clarification. Wow. Wow. We've got 3 of the 4 ace cards out today with our Ace of Swords. This feels like an energetic boost of confidence, right? This feels like energetic solution to a certain extent. This feels like a little bit of this like by George, I think I've got it here. Like this is a little bit of like it's going a little light bulb going like boom, like a little bit of that energy here being like da-dun, da-dun. And so this feels, again, we go through difficult things. We navigate difficulty to find energetic solutions. So even here, like I know this energy feels like very dense right now. And I know it feels a little bit energetically chaotic, but there's something about that like it is helping to build into a space of focus. It's really creating that space of energetic focus. And I see even now that so much of that work, it feels fundamental. And it is having a different impact across the frequencies. Now, for masculine and feminine energy, deep within divine union, this is energy moving into, this is a heavy alignment day, if you will. Like a lot of this energy, potentially, how do we come into alignment? Do we come into alignment by just saying everything's okay? No, I don't want to talk about it. It's fine. No, forget about me. It's fine. No, we don't do that. We come into alignment by saying, I need to talk to you about something. I need to unpack something with you. Can I show you this? I want to get your perspective. So we see even now a lot of that energy going through that type of discourse, landing upon that space of mutual activation. It gets a little messy when you do that, right? It gets a little messy, but then in the process of doing so, boom, immediate alignment again, right? But it requires that sense of like working through. While for masculine and feminine energy, and that sense of like a lot of the energy deep within divine union saying, I like going through that energetic process with you. I like dumping everything on the table. I like sorting all of that out. I like being able to recognize what feels energetically valuable and what feels like it doesn't. That is the joy of coming into alignment. While for masculine and feminine energy, coming into divine union, this is the energy that is feeling that adjustment point in relationality to the conviction that they're bringing forth in an energetic connection, because this is the energy that feels a sense of, I want to say, energetic victory insofar of the changes that they were able to make within their connection. And I can see a lot of the energy being like, I don't know what's going on out there. What's going on out there is like a mess. But like here, the ability for us to fix something, the ability to us to really put our hands into it, work on it, have those successes. This is the energy that says this feels even more integral and important right now because it shows the ability that we have within the self to create something of value without between us. While for masculine and feminine energy that is in separation, this is feeling very energetically bittersweet because I see a lot of that energy right now bearing the burden, carrying forth in separation. This is like weightlifting in the sense of seeing something here and the energy feeling validated in relationality to meeting and encountering energy that feels like it's moving in the same direction as them. But in the process, it's requiring one to feel that sense of letting go of like energetic connections that feel like they were pulling you in oppositional directions from one's own manifestation goals. And I see even now that there's a lot of that energy in separation. It feels reaffirming, but it also potentially feels frustrating. And for masculine, it feels even more energetically frustrated. I see a lot of the healed masculine feeling like all of this, it feels like something that's gotten even energetically harder on one's own journey, right? For a lot of the masculine energy, I see that this is a lot of that energetic stress because this is a masculine that's like moving through that energetic process of holding space, like having to carry additional energetic weight. You know, I can just see it even now. A lot of the masculine energy on that healing journey being like, you know, this feels like Atlas energy because it feels like the masculine saying, I'm trying to lift this. I'm remember, masculine energy that's on that healing path, you're not alone in that journey. It may feel like you are, but you're not. And that ability of doing so, I see even now. And for feminine, I see a lot of that energy of the feminine, seeing a lot of that masculine energy right now in that space of being like the silent warrior, if you will, not being energetically prescriptive, but almost like holding the energetic space for the feminine. I see even now a lot of very fundamental energetic connections that are forming because this is the energy that is seeing one another very clearly at this time. Bottom of the deck on this reading, welcome to the Mercury retrograde shadow period. We've got here our 8 of Wands and it's upright. So, that's the thing with these Mercury retrograde shadow periods. We've got the retrograde coming up. We all know what happens during Mercury retrogrades. Communication can become confusing. I told you, nuance right now. Don't assume. Listen, please, when we are in shadow periods, do not assume anything. Don't let yourself spiral out on whatever thought gets in your head. Validate, verify, clarify, work through, don't assume, do the energetic work. Because don't let something get lost in context. Because, measure twice, cut once. Because, and I'm going to say this again, I'll always defend the Mercury retrograde. The Mercury retrograde is not here to create chaos. The Mercury retrograde is something that arrives to allow us a point of changing our perspective. Sometimes the only way we can innovate is if we feel energetic stress that is put on something that isn't energetically working to help us find new solutions. So let's hold space and appreciation for the retrograde period, because even now there's something about that gift of being able to look backwards. Remember the Scorpio journey, looking backwards, seeing something of value of the past that clears the path forward in the process. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video. And if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Please keep in mind that if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. Also, a couple of updates before we move into personal readings right now. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who joined us at our chariot class last night. Had such a delight being able to go over that card with you. Our next tarot class will be held on Wednesday, December 18th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Strength card. I cannot wait to teach this card to you. It's a very interesting card. It's moved around a lot in the deck. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to go all deep into the diving. We're also moving into the virtues, which is very interesting. If you would like to become a part of the class program, now is the perfect time because you've got about 8 hours worth of material that you will also have access to when you become a subscriber to my tarot class program. So this is a great time because if you sign up now, you'll be able to do about 2 classes leading up to the class. Now, it's not important. You don't need to catch up to follow us in the classes. I will be giving recaps on everything that we've studied thus far to the best of my ability in each of the classes. But now would be a perfect time to join. If you'd like to become a part of that class program, your subscription to my Substack, graystrega.substack.com, is your ticket of entry. You'll not only have access to that full repository of the previous classes, you'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything that we've learned thus far. You'll also have access to, if you become a founding member, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you will also receive a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, wherein we will assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey, and I'll give you the best insights in terms of not only the ability to use the classes, but also your own personal study and practice to the best of your advantage going forward as it relates to your tarot goals. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Also, if you are a subscriber here on my TikTok, make sure that you head over to our subscriber-only Discord channel that is available in your perks. You will find in the perks section a special coupon code that will give you an additional discount to that Substack subscription. Even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings and services. I post my weekly newsletter there as well, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my live schedule. You will also have access to our giveaway winner information. Speaking of giveaways, we are in the process of holding our November giveaway. If you would like to potentially win a free private tarot reading with me, simply head over to the link tree in my bio. There is a 2-minute travel survey there. Filling out that travel survey will grant you an entry into the giveaway. But if you would like to increase your chances of winning, go ahead and forward that survey to a friend, because when I pull the winner, I will be gifting a reading, not only to the person that wins, but also to the individual that referred them. Finally, I want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for my clients that are seeking more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, because they are focused on your own personal growth or spiritual practices that you're most interested in learning more about. They're customized for each individual student. Those can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series. That is 4 45-minute readings, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, weekly or bi-weekly, as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your own personal journey. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.